Hey there, Ledgers. We look at Psalm 136 today. It's a psalm that encourages a focus on the Lord's continuous involvement in redemption, in the big picture, as well as the little picture in our own lives, which is really the big picture, isn't it? We need His redemptive hand. As I was thinking about this psalm and thinking about how God has rescued me and Jill. Early on in our marriage, we were young college students. We were very poor. We were living paycheck to paycheck, which was pretty small back then. I think it was 1993, and we were in Chicago, the big city. We had a church family there that we were participating with in our college years, and we got pregnant, and we knew how it worked. So that was a surprise to us, and but it didn't go well. Jill had a miscarriage. It was just very hard and painful, and just a great loss. And we couldn't afford it. We didn't. That's back in the day when you didn't have to have health insurance. I think we've had some bare bones plan, but we couldn't afford anything, and we couldn't pay the hospital bill. We couldn't pay the doctor. And some sweet family in the church, an older couple, just so kind to us, paid our hospital bill. And just really blessed us in a time when we needed help. And that was God's help in our lives. And we often reflect on them and their graciousness to us in that time to be used by God. This psalm is a psalm that encourages us to reflect on the way He's acted in history, in our lives, and in the greater history of the world, because He's at work. And so it moves us to give thanks. I love what Eugene Peterson says. He says, history is a museum through which the praising person can stroll, finding down every corridor evidence of what God has done in judgment and deliverance. Everything we observe is inserted in the story of praise and labeled as an exhibit of steadfast love. Isn't that a great line? History is full of corridors that if we walk down them, we see God at work. And this psalm points to that. And so it's a great Hallel psalm. It was often used during the Passover feast. It was a psalm that was a responsive psalm. And so it would be spoken by two groups usually, and saying a repeating phrase over and over in the NIV, His love endures forever. There's another way to say it. Another version says, for His love has no end, which I think maybe has a nicer poetic flow to it. But whatever, however it's translated, it's this idea of God's loyal love to humans without fail, even when we don't deserve it, even when we've blown it. And so I just think about a couple of thoughts in this psalm today. And so they rehearse history, and they rehearse creation and how God is at work. So listen to these words in verse 1, Psalm 136. Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good, for His love has no end. Give thanks to the God of gods, for His love has no end. Give thanks to the Lord of lords. His love has no end. And you get the idea here. It's just this movement, this poetic movement of reminding us that He has faithful love. To Him who alone does great wonders, His love has no end. Who by His understanding made the heavens, His love has no end. Who spread out the earth upon the waters, His love has no end. And we could go on. It's just this beautiful picture of God at work in creation, reminding us the psalmist reminding us that that is his faithful love to us. And so when we reflect on nature and the beauty of creation and the earth that we live on and enjoy, we're reminded that his love has no end. And then later on in the psalm, I love how it ends. And it's Israel speaking about their history, but it's so good for us. He remembered us in our low estate. His love has no end, and freed us from our enemies. His love has no end. He gives food to every creature. His love has no end. Give thanks to the God of heaven. His love has no end. And so I want to encourage you to be reflective today, thoughtfully about who God is and what he's done in his life. You know, the idea of giving thanks in there is this idea that we acknowledge and confess in a grateful way what he's done. So let me encourage you to take a look at Psalm 136 and then spend some time in reflection in your own. Maybe you can journal this or reflect with your family and think together about how God has rescued you, how he's moved towards you in loyal love, in faithfulness, when you didn't deserve it, and blessed you and helped you and guided you and rescued you. So take some time today and think about Psalm 136 and give praise to God. He alone is worthy of all our praise. Hey, God bless you. He is faithful and his love has no end. We'll talk again. Take care.